Welcome to Our Hen House. This is Jasmine Singer.
And this is Marianne Sullivan.
Thank you for joining us this week. Marianne's guest this week is Leshko, who is an extraordinarily gifted photographer and a very passionate animal advocate. Her book, Allowed to Grow Old: Portraits of Elderly Rescued Farm Animals, is truly a thing of beauty and a reminder to all of us of why we devote our lives to fighting for these animals, most of whom, of course, are never allowed to grow old. I'm so moved just by the title. Like, it kind of makes me want to cry.
Most people don't even know that they are killed when they're babies. They just think they don't get elderly. But even if whether you know that or not, the fact is that they don't exist for their own lives, and the idea that some of them are allowed to grow old, it really is. It was an inspiring choice for a book. I found this interview really inspiring. She's a really interesting person.
Yeah, totally. I'm very excited about this. You chatted with her for the bonus segment. And so if you are in the flock, then you will get an email on Tuesday after this podcast episode goes up, or you can always find it on the Flock Facebook group. And if you're not a member of the Flock and you can afford it, you can join for $10 a month at ourhenhouse.org. Oh, and if you are in the Flock, please join us for our Flock Friday Zoom calls, which are once a month on the first Friday of the month at 4 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, where we focus on our veganism, on our activism, and how to take care of ourselves. We talk to some inspiring former podcast guests. So if you are a member of the Flock, make sure to check out the Flock Facebook group for updates on that. And you can also set up one-on-ones with me if you're in the Flock to discuss your veganism or your activism or whatever else you want to chat about. So if that calls to you, then email Jen at ourhenhouse.org. And remember to vote. How was that transition?
Yeah, it might not have been a great transition, but I was the one who said, let's start off chatting by reminding everybody to vote. Because I just had to register to vote because, as you may have heard, since it's all we ever talk about, we recently moved to Rochester. So that means we have to register to vote. So if you're not registered, the time is passing. And don't think just because, of course, nobody listening to this would be so foolish. Don't think just because it's a small local election and not a big national election that it's not important. They're all important. You never know who you're going to get to vote for.
Yeah, exactly. Very exciting.
One of the things I also wanted to talk about, aside from the most important thing, which was reminding people to vote, was this article I saw. It's not about animal rights. It's about Chevron. And I just saw it. It was in Rolling Stone. And it just rang a bell for me vis-a-vis animal rights. Even though the topic itself is important in and of itself, I just think it's a whole thing that covers a lot of different kinds of activism. And it was about how Chevron, since I don't watch network TV, I don't see that many ads, but apparently they have been running ads constantly, spending a huge amount of money on ads. All of the ads are about saving the environment. They were describing some of them in this article and talking about how, it's like a little girl smelling the flowers and just like nothing to do with oil, just talking about how great they are in the environment. And apparently Chevron, according to Rolling Stone, is like, even among oil companies, it's bad. It's just horrific. Right. And obviously greenwashing is not new, but the level at which it's going on just really reminded me of a lot of what I've been reading in animal agriculture. I think because we're entering crises, this process of greenwashing or humane washing in the case of animals is really stepping up. You do see more greenwashing than humane washing in animal agriculture, I think, because of a couple of things. Maybe they don't think that people care about the way animals are treated or don't know that much about the way that animals are treated. And that would seem to be somewhat justified because people, we all know people don't seem to care, though I think they do care. You just can't seem to act on it. But the other reason is that I think this is really crucial. There's nothing good for them to say. They try to trot out that they're going cage free. But in fact, they're going cage free slower than they were supposed to, slower than they promised to. And cage free ain't no walk in the park for the animals. So there's not that much they can say without lying. I think this makes consumer protection law that much more of a positive tactic for animal lawyers, and I just think it's going to be a continuing huge challenge. They're going to continue to lie as much as they can get away with because it's all that they can do. But it's not the only thing that I've been thinking about vis-a-vis the environmental movement and the similarity, and maybe what we can learn and how these movements are kind of need to use kind of the same tactics. And I call this the Tesla syndrome. I made that up, though it might be widespread out there. So don't blame me if you don't get it, if you've heard it a million times. But I just think this is so hugely important for us and so entirely possible now. Don't sell your substitute products as virtuous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think, we're the ones who are virtuous. We're the ones who are virtuous, at least on this issue. We're the ones who bought that line. Nobody else buys it. Like the Tesla syndrome, what I mean is like electric cars were just seen as clunky little virtuous types of cars that nobody wanted to buy except for really good people until Tesla. And Tesla sold it as a luxury vehicle. And, their lowest model it ain't cheap, but I don't think it's not like $200,000. It's like, I don't know, within the range of normal, like fancy cars, like $35,000, $40,000, I think. But they're fabulous. I mean, if you ever sat in one, they just feel very special. They're incredibly clean panel in the front. And they're just a little different. They're fancy. They're Teslas. It's like cool to have a Tesla. And that is exactly what I think our approach should be with vegan food or with any other substitute product. Like, they're not as good as, they're better than, they're cooler, they're more beautiful, they're more delicious, they're more luxurious. I don't think healthier just works on some people too. And, it's fine to throw it in there. But I'm talking, people are sold by prestige and fanciness and beauty. And I think I really want to lean into that. Vegan ice cream isn't as good as regular ice cream. Oh, and I shouldn't call it regular ice cream either. No, I shouldn't call it dairy either. What do we call it? Slaughter-based ice cream.
Yeah,
it's not as good as, it's better.
Well, I do agree with you that this is something that any kind of social change needs to be not only positioned as something that will help you make a choice that's in alignment with your ethics, but most pressingly, it needs to be touted as something that will significantly improve your life. Like, the taste will significantly improve it. And it can't be the martyr card that people are sold because they're not going to buy it. I've read about this in various other aspects of social justice about how, like, the whole, stepping aside isn't going to work for a lot of people. It sort of needs to be touted as something that will significantly improve your life. And I, if you're like me, that gives you kind of like a gag reflex. Like, I hate that. I hate that that's how it has to be sold. But I think strategically it does. I love your comparison to Tesla. I love what you were talking about with Chevron, and just like the way that this can be positioned as something that will make you enjoy your life more, because people are just self-centered and they're also caught up in their habits every day. So in my opinion, the two easiest, quickest ways of changing the world for animals are to make things a total no-brainer, put it on the menus in front of them, make it the same price in the grocery store right next to the meat product, and two, sell it as something that will improve your life. Like, I am very moved by art and creativity and doing the most good I can, but I don't think most people are motivated by that.
Unfortunately. And they want to be, and they think it's good, but that is not what moves people to new products, especially food. People want food basically that's yummy. I can understand that, but they just don't realize that vegan food, this isn't a lie. I'm not suggesting that people should lie. It is better. Like what, people just don't know that. They think it's good for you. Nobody wants to eat anything that's good for you. Well, a few people do, but not very many. So that's my thought for the week. I'm going to be way outside my normal comfort zone and be enthusiastic and positive about deliciousness. Normally I'm negative about everything, but we all got to do what we can for the animals. And what has your week been like? What have you been thinking about and writing about?
Well, I have this Substack, and actually, as we're recording, I haven't done my weekly post yet, but that's my newsletter, which you can find at jasminesinger.substack.com. There's no E on Jasmine. And the last few ones that I've been writing about include how to radically let go, how to get rid of anxiety, how to deal with life when you lose your balance, which was actually something that I was equating with actually losing my balance because I was going through some vertigo. But I wound up broadening the scope of it into something a bit more metaphorical. So I've been just sort of writing about things that bat around in my head. I was thinking about writing about all of the various ways that women can be called bossy, sometimes using the B word, bossy, and sometimes using other words like intense or aggressive or speaks too loudly, or all of these things. It kind of bugs me. I mean, I've certainly been called several of those things, and I genuinely don't think I'm bossy. I genuinely think that I can have a strong energy, but how else are we going to change the world for animals? And the gender inequities there, even though we're in 2021, kind of boggle my mind. So this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, especially vis-a-vis activism, when we can't really be wallflowers. And so those are some of the things that I have been writing about lately. And then also I have the very exciting news that I was cast in a film. I think people who listen to this for a while might know that I also am an actor from time to time. And it was pretty funny to move to Rochester and get cast in a film in Rochester, which I'm very excited about. But their craft services, I told them I was vegan. And so they all were just really thrown by it, in a way I'm not totally used to. So they called me the other day and they said, "We're planning the menu. Do you eat donuts?" And I was like, "Well, I eat vegan donuts." And they were like, "Okay, I just wasn't sure you eat donuts." And I was like, "I just don't eat anything that had a mother," And there was a moment and everyone just started laughing like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. They were like, "Oh, interesting that you're putting it that way." So I am excited about doing it. I do love acting very much. And so it'll be really fun to be able to do that for a while. Those are kind of the things going on with me, just still in the middle of this net zero project with the house. Currently, as I'm speaking, they're setting up the geothermal, which is very exciting. But as I get more and more involved in these eco projects on my house, I am more and more aware of how easy it is to go vegan, because some of these projects like geothermal and solar and triple pane windows and insulation, they can be complicated. They shouldn't be, but they can be. But veganism, it's not hard. So it sort of reclaims that for me. And that's about it. That's all that's happening in my little world.
It's kind of a lot, actually. And I totally agree with you. Veganism is the easy, it's not just easy, it's better than not going vegan. So I love that story about your film producers. Let's hope it sticks.
I'll let you know because I'm shooting it this weekend. So stay tuned. But let's get to the interview. Leshko is a fine art photographer who focuses on themes relating to animal rights, aging, and mortality. She is the author of Allowed to Grow Old, Portraits of Elderly Rescued Farm Animals, which was published last year by the University of Chicago Press. The book, which is now in its second printing, was selected by BuzzFeed as one of the best photography books of 2019 and was a coffee table book recommendation for the New York Times 2019 Holiday Gift Guide. That is so cool. Remember 2019? Seems like
vaguely.
I don't really.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think it was 25 then.
Yeah, that's right. So Marianne will be joined by Leshko right after this. If you like what you're listening to, and I hope you do, then please consider taking a minute out of your day today to leave us a friendly review. You can do it on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify or Stitcher or on Facebook or wherever you listen to podcasts or wherever you're listening to this. The more we get out there, the more our henhouse will be in front of people's eyeballs when they're putting in search terms in their podcasts, and the more we could join forces together to elevate the voices of the animals and change the world for them. So thank you so much in advance for leaving us a friendly review.
Welcome to our henhouse, Izza.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you. And we've been wanting to put this interview together for a long time because we were so excited about your book when it came out. It's just so different. And what I'd like to start off with, and to some extent for personal reasons, I'd like to start off with the backstory of how you came to take on the project. And I find it so rich in so many ways. It's kind of personal because I had a mother who had dementia before her death. So, and I know that's an important part of your story.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. What happened was, I didn't consciously set out to embark on this project. I was visiting my sister's in-laws, and they had a very old horse named Petey. And I had this, encounter with him. The moment I saw him, I was just completely mesmerized, and he was just so beautiful. And he was so visibly old, but that's what I found so beautiful. And I ran into the house, grabbed a camera. I only had my little toy whole